Ever since wearing the hijab, I found myself having more strength, more fortitude. And this was most evident when I was on the C-section table. I had thrown up and I got some vomit on my hijab. I didn't know I would throw up. I didn't have too many spare hijabs. I threw up quite a lot, actually. Multiple times. Because the anesthesia was very potent. It's very common for women to throw up in that situation. And my husband wasn't there because he had to be with our daughter. She's under the age of 13, so she couldn't be left alone in the hospital room. So I was there. So it wasn't like I could ask him, bring me another hijab, and, it was just not something that could be done. And the nurse was like, I should take this off. Like, has vomit on it. Like, do you want to take this off? And I was like, no. And the anesthesiologist, this black man, he was very kind. He's like, no, stop. Like, he stuck up for me. And she wasn't doing anything malicious. I think she was just not aware of how important the hijab is. Because if I would have taken it off in that time, I would have felt so uncomfortable. But when I had that hijab on, and they're cutting me open, the lights are shining down. I had them put a cloth over my eyes, but you can still feel the brightness. I kept saying La ilaha illallah because a complication can happen. Infections. Alhamdulillah, everything went fine. But it's a huge thing for me because I feared a C-section. I was terrified. But the hijab in that moment was like a comforting spiritual blanket in a way that reminded me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us all with fear. Now, even if I didn't have the hijab on, I would still have faith. But it helped in a psychological, motivational type of way. And I'm very glad they allowed me to keep it on. And I hope other women get to experience that type of love through the hijab. What I mean by that is where your modest clothing and covering feels like a blissful and graceful veil. It's like your mantle of femininity. It is something that is purely yours, and it enrages so many secularists. They hate to see us covered. They just gnaw and claw and want to pass laws to where we can't, where it bothers them. They demand access to us. And every time I wear the hijab, niqab, you name it, it's like you're defying them. And that's so powerful, it's so beautiful, it's so spiritual. And you're obeying Allah, and Allah has commanded us to cover ourselves. Bare bones, covering your beautiful, gorgeous, alluring hair, and saving that for those who have the privilege to see it. Not everyone is privileged to see anything about you. Islam allows me to have so much strength because I operate feels like a shadow sometimes, being unnoticed, not objectified, not having to squeeze into skinny jeans and yoga pants anymore, just the wind flowing in the drapery. It's so potent, so powerful. Islam has such a beautiful and enduring modesty rule, which is the hijab. Which there's multiple things to haya, shyness, right, and the hijab on a larger conversation. But I'm hinting at the clothing aspect. It's revolutionary in one's self-discovery and character building. And I really hope that more women who have converted decide to put on their crown, which is the hijab. In an age of OnlyFans women, the age of half-nude singers, covering up is a revolutionary act. It's a defiance to Shaitan. You can recognize in your own psychology, why are you clinging to constantly having to strut for men? Is it really for you? Is it for them? And if you're married, why do you feel the need to do that? And even if you weren't married and you're aging, there's a classy way to carry yourself, and Islam's demand of the hijab allows us to be ever graceful, ever steadfast. A mark of honor when we wear it. I hope you can see what I'm talking about.